Coming up, Tony Dungy, an in-studio appearance. You like the man cave?
Man, this is nice.
Yep. It's just kind of simple. It's home. What's the coolest thing that you see in the man cave?
Oh, gosh. Probably all the old football helmets, yeah.
Yeah? Got some jerseys in here. Do you have a man cave? Are you allowed to have one at home?
No. I have a little study in the corner and got some of my stuff, but nothing like this with stuff from other people.
What's the best thing you have, aside from a Super Bowl ring?
The best thing I have in there is probably the ball from my first interception in the NFL.
Who threw it?
Dan Pastorini.
Oh, so it was against Houston?
Against Houston, and I got an interception in the first quarter. I'm thinking, I'm going to have a great game. If this keeps up, I got 4 interceptions. All the quarterbacks got hurt. I ended up playing the fourth quarter at quarterback. Threw 2 interceptions. So the last guy in history to intercept the pass and throw an interception in the same game.
So everybody got hurt in front of you. So that's Bradshaw?
Bradshaw, Mike Kruzik. Cliff Stout was inactive or something. I'm not sure why he wasn't playing, but I remember in his last play of the third quarter, Elvin Bethea knocked out Mike Kruzik. And I remember sitting there, what are we going to do? We don't have a quarterback. And Coach Noel coming up to me, what do you know? And I said, well, we can run this. We can run 19 straight and float 36, and I know some of the passing game. And next thing I know, I'm in the huddle taking snaps from Mike Webster, Franco Harris, and Rocky Blyer are my running backs, and Lynn Swan and John Stallworth are my receivers. So I got a chance to do something here, but I threw a pick.
I'm looking at your stats. 3 for 8, 43 yards, 2 picks.
All I needed was 1 day of practice. If I'd have had some practice time, could have been different.
Yeah. Well, we keep hearing anybody could have quarterbacked those Steeler teams, when people knock Terry Bradshaw.
Well, the funny thing, the next week we're playing Cincinnati on Monday night, and Bradshaw's got a cast on. Kruzik definitely can't play, so I'm practicing and telling all my boys, you know what, I might be playing quarterback on Monday night. Tune in. But Terry was okay. I was back on defense and played nickelback on Monday night.
Do you think that Coach Noel said, Terry, you've got to get in there? I can't let Tony Dungy be quarterback.
I think we were doing a lot of rehab that week, yeah.
We watched a lot of football yesterday, obviously, and we were, keeping an eye on what was going on with Denver and New England. And I haven't heard Peyton act that way, sound that way after a loss. Now, obviously, a Super Bowl loss, you would expect that. But that was a regular season loss. And I said, is Peyton saying what we want to hear? Or does he really feel that bad that he stunk in that game against New England?
No, you're disappointed. I remember we lost a game like that on opening day 2004. We're up there, and we have a chance to win the game and don't get it done. And as one of the few times I was down in the locker room because I knew we were going to have to win 2 more games than the Patriots or we'd be back up there in the postseason. So I think it's part of that, too. It was a big game. They wanted to lock down home field advantage, and now you're thinking, not only did I play badly, we lost the game, but we're probably having to come back up here again in January.
Where was the Denver defense is what I would want to know, because that's what they set out in the offseason to try to shore up.
All the improvements and all the new personnel. But we've been saying it as we've been watching these guys. They got way ahead of Kansas City. Kansas City came back, almost won at the end, or almost tied it up. Indy was way down, and luck brings them back, and they knocked down a 4th down play. But I don't see that lockdown defense that you're going to need in the playoffs. And
you're also looking at this with Brady and the Patriots 5 weeks ago, where everybody thought, well, okay. There are even rumors that they would trade Brady.
Remember we were talking about that?
I know.
It was so ridiculous. And I remember saying, people, you got to be nuts. They don't have great protection right now. The receivers are still learning what to do. Brandon LaFell and some of these guys. Gronkowski wasn't in. There was just a lot of things going on. They weren't able to get the ball downfield. But they've gotten a lot of that straightened out. And to Rodney's point, I think they are doing some things differently now. But part of that is because Gronk is back. And those guys make a big difference. When you know the coverage you're going to get because of certain guys in there, if we put this guy here, I don't have to read the coverage. I know what they're going to be in. It helps the quarterback, and it helps the protection. So they're doing what they should do. Now, they still got to do it on the road. Everybody's going to now say, oh, New England, they're the team to beat. But you got to go on the road and prove it. That's what I'm waiting to see. Who can take this? Pittsburgh played great now at home, but now let's see you do it on the road.
Well, okay, if I said who has the best chance to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC?
I'd really have to look at the schedules and see who has to play people. New England's they've got to go to Green Bay, they've got to go to Indy.
Yeah.
They're going to have some losses here at some point. I'm not sure right now. I still think Denver probably does.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to figure this out. That even though Denver, you go cross country and you lose, they're probably still going to have home field advantage. I just don't know. I don't know if New England could end up with the best record. That's why I picked New England to go to the Super Bowl. In large part, I thought they'd have home field advantage because the AFC East is not very good. But they started out a little bit slow. Now they're on a roll, winning 5 in a row.
I just do not see a defense in the AFC that is capable of going on the road and locking people down. So I agree with you. Whoever ends up winning the most games and getting home field, I think that's who you got to make the favorite.
What about in the NFC? Is Arizona the best team?
They're playing the best right now, but I'm not sure they're the best team. I really don't know who's good. I think Green Bay can be if they get their defense squared away. But right now, Arizona's playing the best defense of anybody out there. You mentioned Seattle, and we thought they'd have this dominating defense. They're not playing as well as Arizona is. So I'm not sure who's good in the NFC, but right now you have to look at the Cardinals.
We'll continue with Tony Dungy. I want to ask him about this Cowboys situation because I brought this up to Peter King on Friday. I was bothered by Jerry Jones going into the locker room, and I really feel like Jerry Jones said Tony's going to be able to play. And Romo's got injured. There's small fractures. They're still keep an eye on the word fractured. And now he says he's going to play. He's got an 8-hour flight to London. And that's a dangerous situation there. Plus, with the Redskins, is it true that Daniel Snyder, somebody in the front office, made the call for him to start against Minnesota? I feel that's the case as well. So we'll touch on those topics with Tony Dungy. We'll continue, and we'll get to your phone calls as well later this hour, best and worst of the weekend. This is the Dan Patrick Show. We'll get to your phone calls, as we always do on Monday, best and worst of the weekend. Tony Dungy joining us in the Man Cave. Tony was only in for, 5 minutes? And the first person they brought up is, I wonder how Shea and Irving is doing today.
Can't be a good weekend for Shea.
No. Shea will join us coming up in a little bit. Can't be a good week at all. Now, you mentioned you're the answer to a great trivia question. The last player to throw an interception and actually have an interception in an NFL game, and that was against the Houston Oilers.
Houston Oilers, Bum Phillips in the House of Pain.
Okay, so you threw an interception to who?
To Mike Reinfeld, actually.
Okay.
Who was, NFL executive now, but he was a free safety for the Oilers then.
And then you also
intercepted Dan Pastorini in the first quarter. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Get a couple of phone calls here. Dan in Houston joins us now. Hi, Dan.
Yes, this is Dan. How y'all doing?
Good. What's up?
Is that Mr. Tony Dungy?
I'm here.
Hi, Tony. This is Dan Pastorini from the Houston.
Are you kidding me? Do you remember the play?
I think I remember the play because I think I got carried off the field.
There were a lot of guys that got hurt that game,
and
but it was a corner route to Kenny Burrow, yeah.
That's right. And then not only did I get carried off, but Bradshaw got carried off later on.
Yes.
Then John Hadle got carried off. And then I think the Hanratty was Terry Hanratty was the backup.
It was actually Mike Kruzek, but he got carried off too. And the funny thing, you remember the name John Cole? He was our left tackle.
Yes.
He had just gotten married, and his wife didn't know that much about football at the time. We got back to the airport, and she was trying to console Mike Kruzek's wife and saying, that Elvin Bethea, he was just knocking people out all over the place. And they said, that's who your husband was supposed to be blocking.
That was kind of a typical battle, but if I remember correctly, there were 23 guys on the injured list that following Monday.
We had some brutal games in there, 77, 78, and whoever came out and survived was going to the Super Bowl, and those were big games.
Well, we all know who that was.
He's Dan Pastorini, the former Houston Oilers quarterback, and Tony said he basically owns you, Dan, as far as the defense.
What can I say?
Well, that pass rush helped. That was a big part of it, no question.
We just had Mr. Green down here for my charity golf tournament a couple of weeks ago, and he was the ultimate gentleman. It was really a pleasure to sit with him and chat a little bit. And your name came up naturally, and we reminisced about a lot of good times and sad times for us, but they were great battles. And I'll say this: the Pittsburgh Steelers organization as a whole is one of the classiest organizations in the game, and it was because of men like you and Joe Green and et cetera. So it was an honor to play you guys. And if we had to lose to somebody, as Bum used to say, you might as well lose to people you like. So
no, we
did respect you guys.
Well, Dan,
Amen.
we appreciate you being a good sport and calling in. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks,
All right,
Dan.
thank you guys. Take care.
Dan Pastorini. Yeah, that's Fritzy. Fritzy's the one that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
He tracked down Dan Pastorini. Yeah.
No, he's right. We had some brutal games. We beat them down in Houston 13-3, and there was another game where about 25 guys got carried off.
But the game is so different now. That's why I said to you when we're watching these highlights, you're able to have time, as far as what the defense can and can't do. The steel curtain playing now, what would it be like for I think the best defense that ever played the game? What would it be like under these rules? Now, granted, they'd still be great, but
it would be tougher. It would be tougher for those guys because you played so aggressively, you played so physically, you'd have to learn. Now, they were just starting the rule changes in the back in the secondary with Mel Blount and Donnie Shell and some of the guys we had, so you couldn't be as physical. But hitting quarterbacks and late, and there was no such thing as, what do they call it now, a protected player, or vulnerable player,
But Mean Joe Green would be suspended.
Well, there'd be a lot of fines for sure.
Right?
There'd been a lot more fines, and it was a different game. It was a different game.
He's Tony Dungy from Football Night in America, and Tony did mention that he worried about Shea and Irving and his Dallas Cowboys. Shea joins us now. Hi, Shea.
Hey, Danny.
How you doing?
You would put me on with Tony Dungy, wouldn't you?
Well, I thought it might soften it a little bit.
That's what you're doing. You're censoring me already. You see that? Already with the censorship.
Well, Tony was worried about you.
Him and everybody else that is related to me. They should be worried about me.
I think
it was a horrible weekend.
It was, but you're going to be okay. When you get your quarterback back, this is still a good football team. So
that depends if Dr. Jerry has the right prognosis, Tony. Who knows? He could have another broken back. Is he going to get sued for that, by the way? You let a man come out with a broken back and then put him right back in the game after you give him $100 million. That ain't guaranteed. And then you send him back out to his grave. What an idiot.
I had problems with that with Jerry Jones. I worried about that. I got the feeling that Jerry Jones went in there and said, you know what? He says he can play. Put him back out there.
Of course you did, Danny. A little nudge, nudge, wink, wink. The Ivy League ginger ain't going to stand up to him. That's for damn sure.
What do you think, Tony?
I think there was something about that because my sense was the doctors didn't want to put him back in, and we kept seeing the shots. They're back in the hallway, and I've never had that situation come up before. All my communication as a head coach was always with the doctors.
Dr. Jerry, there he is, right there for you. Bought and paid for his medical license. Brandon Whedon threw the ball 33 times, Danny.
I know.
I want to know what acid trip world it's okay for that ginger to throw a football 33 times in a game.
But they really had to do that. Arizona forced them. We actually showed the one clicker play where they got all 11 guys charging the line of scrimmage.
On the 4th and inches,
yeah,
I saw that.
You had to throw the ball, and you had to throw it effectively. And unfortunately, they couldn't throw it effectively yesterday.
Not when your ginger throws underhand and crooked. I don't care. I don't give a damn. You run it, you run the ball, and you keep running the damn ball. I don't care if Arizona's dead last in the pass. You got to dedicate yourself to a running game when your $100 million bionic back quarterback is gone. You have one thing to lean on, and that's the running game. That's it. Brandon Whedon couldn't make a hitch pass to save his butt, and they could pull that crap out. This is the last 3 weeks, Danny, 3 home games. You go 1-2. You go 1-2. This is a bunch of crap. The whole wheels are falling off. It's over, Danny.
It's not over.
It's over. Now Des Bryant wants to get an extension in the middle of it. We got Randall talking crap. And you got Peter King, by the way, who I wish he was on your show right now. How about you ask that man to make it 6 months without lying in an article before he starts giving out underwear thief names to other folks? How about that? This is horrible, Danny. This is all.
Thank you, Shea, for calling.
Whatever.
And again, we just got to relax. Same thing. Everybody was in New England was the same way. And my in-laws live in Pittsburgh. And all I'm hearing is we got to fire Todd Haley. We got to fire Mike Tomlin. We don't know what we're doing. And now 12 touchdowns in 2 weeks. Just relax.
But there's an overreaction every week, Tony. We think we figured it out. This team is good. This team isn't. This guy's good. This guy isn't. And it seems it's week to week. It depends on the opponent that you're playing. We saw that yesterday. Here's New England putting up 43 on Denver. Do you think Belichick really wanted to get 50 points?
Oh, I think so.
I mean, 50, the number, he really wanted that.
Yeah, I think so because, hey, you guys think you improved your defense and you took one of our players, Aqib Talib, and you got Ware now and you're supposed to be better. Yeah, I think he wanted to make a statement.
How would you handle Seattle's situation where, and once again, we're on the outside looking in, but just from everything that you've heard, Russell Wilson, is he too close to management? Is he black enough? The quarterback's role with the coach, players doing endorsements. So as a coach, when you see something and read something, what do you do?
I think if you read it from inside, and that's what I would have a problem with, this inside source or an anonymous source. I said this, someone on the team. We were talking about this yesterday. Jay Glazer goes on and says, I heard or I know what Wes Walker said in the team meeting. I'd read the riot act. You just can't have that kind of thing. You want to say something, put your name on it and say, it's me. I'm saying this. So that's what I would do if I was
Would you say it to the whole team?
Oh, yeah, to the whole team. So now, first of all, we got to keep this in-house. But if you're going to let it out of the house, put your name on it. I don't want to hear any anonymous sources or this unnamed player. And we got to stop that. And whatever your opinion is, if you don't like Russell Wilson, that's fine. Say it in here. Or if you're going to say it outside, put your name on it.
But you have this situation, and it's two black quarterbacks with Russell Wilson and RG3. They seem to have alienated the locker room. Now, they've been successful, but what happens, that division there?
Well, and I don't know that they've alienated the locker room. Maybe they alienated one guy. And that's, one guy doesn't always speak for the locker room. And so before we go that far.
But is there jealousy that goes on?
There's always jealousy on teams, and that's why it's so tough to repeat. That's why I said at the beginning of the year, I think Seattle's going to have trouble, just like every other team has had trouble in the last 12 years trying to repeat. That's what happens. It's such a different world now than when I played. You were basically just your own little community. You weren't a national figure. You weren't all over the place. It's just hard now.
Do you think that teammates have a problem with Peyton doing all those endorsements?
Probably. I don't know, but probably so. And it's just, that's the way it is. But he's able to overcome it, and he's got a little bit more just time and experience, and people look up to him a little more. And now these younger guys, well, they shouldn't get it so fast. They shouldn't get it right away. They should have to earn their stripes. I'm sure there's that involved.
All right, we'll come back. I do have to ask you a question. And I know you don't like these questions, but as I've said before, I feel bad sometimes when I ask them because you're an honest man.
Dan, as always, the I-team has put together a photo collage for Coach Dungy. We try to do it whenever he comes in the studio.
Uh-oh.
Dan Pastorini, here's
Dante.
Yeah.
Dante had a great arm, man.
Good hair.
He could throw.
That's SEC hair. Now, this isn't the exact play, but look at Coach taking it back. Who'd you get that day?
That was Bill Munson from the Buffalo Bills.
Former Lion?
Former Lion, who I grew up watching play.
Now, we just grabbed some of our favorites pictures of you, Coach.
That was when I didn't think I was going to make the team. Number 17 as a DB.
So
probably
Joe Gillum came in and took your number.
No, I took Joe's.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So.
I love the shirt. Great colors.
Wow.
96, first year in Tampa.
You got to be a pretty tough guy to be able to pull off those colors.
Yeah. We just found this one.
1976.
Minnesota?
Minnesota, yeah.
Is that like one of the shots for the team?
Oh, yeah, for the...
Is that what? No, he was playing without a helmet.
Yeah. I mean, that throw is so good. You wouldn't put a helmet over.
Yeah, that's old school. Man, you played with no helmet.
Not a big crowd that day. Not a huge crowd.
No, but that was Minnesota football.
Our all-time favorite.
1972, Parkside High School.
I don't think you're scaring me right there. With that delivery?
But that's the way, it was all the media shot.
Oh, it was. Wow.
There it is.
Wow.
Parkside.
You guys went way back.
Rich Eisen's on the line. He just wants to join us very briefly. He's on the run.
Uh-oh.
I thought my mother was the only one that had that picture.
Situation.
Everything's out there.
They're sending in the big guns.
Very briefly.
Rich Eisen.
Thank you. No, that's
you like those?
Memory lane.
That's great.
Nobody got one of me in the huddle with all those guys when I was quarterback, and that's when I really would have won.
There's no pictures of that?
No.
Oh. Do they have there's got to be a picture of you throwing the interception, right?
Yeah, but I really wanted one around all those Hall of Fame guys.
Tony Dungy kind enough to join us in the man cave after a late night watching Ben Roethlisberger throw for 6 touchdowns again. Last time you were called about a college job was when?
A few years back. I can't even remember now, but it was University of Michigan, back in the day.
So before Brady Hoke?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And
again, they just, are you interested? And it's somebody trying to find out if you would even, talk to people. And I never felt like I could coach in college. I just don't know enough about the game. There's too many different rules and how you have to do things. And I think you need somebody who is familiar with the college way of doing things.
So if Michigan hasn't reached out to you?
They have not,
okay,
no.
Okay.
And I think most colleges know now, and I've said that often enough.
But don't you respect them that they would at least reach out to you and then pick your brain if you didn't want the job?
Well, I've gotten some of those calls. Hey, what about this person? Or who would you recommend? And do you know
we got a
anybody
Michigan grad on the phone. Rich Eisen joining us. Hi, Rich.
Tony, listen, I love my current coach. I love Brady Hoke. We have the coach, but if the writing's on the wall, Tony, I'm not Shea and Irving desperate, but I'm desperate.
Well, you and my dad was the biggest Michigan fan ever. And if he was still alive, then maybe I would think about it. But I don't think so.
The Colts had blue. It's a darker shade. Add a little maize. Tony, come on.
Rich,
that's all I'm saying.
Rich, is this an official offer?
No,
we're just kicking it around.
Yeah, I'm in my car calling into your show, Dan, on my way to do mine.
Okay.
That's as official as it comes.
Okay.
That's it. Listening to your show as always.
I didn't know if you were speaking on behalf of Michigan. You're a middleman here.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No, I'd be a little more subtle if that was the case.
But I did. I grew up about 30 miles from there. My dad went to Michigan. He's a huge Michigan fan. I can remember going to games when I was a little kid sitting in the end zone, and that big house is special. It is.
That's making it worse.
Thank you, Rich.
All right.
That's Rich Eisen there. If your dad was still alive, would you take that job?
I'd have to think about it. My dad would have been so proud to see me at Michigan. I would have thought about it. I don't think I would have taken it, but I'd at least talk it over with him.
What if he said before he died, if you get the opportunity, would you please coach Michigan?
Well, fortunately, he wasn't that type of guy. He would never said that to me, but I know he would have liked to have seen that. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you came in. Took a trip down memory lane, and once again, great trivia question there. The last player to throw an interception and have an interception in the same game. Before I let you go, I always ask you this, and I feel like there's better stories, but you're worried about kind of the feedback, blowback from Peyton. Is there a great story about Peyton that might even be a negative story?
A great Peyton Manning story
that I haven't heard. Because you said you guys never got in fights, arguments.
No,
there'd be discussions.
A lot of discussions about what we should do and which way to go. Probably the best story, and I may have told it on here before. But when I came there, I really felt the way Coach Noel did, that family was important and you had to have the kids and everybody involved. So Saturday mornings, we used to make that our family day. Always bring the kids in, let them play on the field during practice. So Peyton, very much a perfectionist. He's wanting to get things done, and so he comes to me and says, I know what you want with the kids, but can we just keep them inside on Saturday morning? I got to work on last-minute stuff. So now he goes out to Denver, and he now has the twins. Brandon Stokely told me, you know what he asked John Fox? Can we have Kids Day on Saturday? We need the kids out there. And both Stokely and I just fell out laughing, and what a difference that perspective makes. But, he is the most perfectionist person I've ever been around, and that's what makes him great.
Could he be in the media?
I think he'd be very good in the media. I don't think he'd be a good coach because he'd be like some of the great basketball players that just hold people to too high a standard and be too hard to play for. But I think he'll be exceptional in the media if he chooses to do that.
I was thinking about this yesterday, that he might win another MVP. And it seems like the more regular season honors and numbers he puts up, the more we look at just the one Super Bowl. As great as he is, he gets greater, gets more MVP awards. It makes that one Super Bowl stand out even more.
And that's what's happening. And people are going to hold him to a higher bar and say, oh, all these regular season stats, all the great play. I don't know what you do about that other than keep putting up numbers and try to win another Super Bowl.
But it seems like we knock him more because he's so good in the regular season and only has one Super Bowl.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that fair, though, to that position? Because Peter King says we shouldn't judge quarterbacks on Super Bowls.
We shouldn't, but that at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Would you take Joe Montana over Peyton?
I wouldn't take any quarterback I've been around over Peyton Manning. One game, because I just think his preparation and what he does and how he prepares, I don't know anybody.
Montana in the Super Bowl.
I'd still take Peyton Manning.
Brady or Bradshaw in the Super Bowl.
I'd take Peyton Manning.
Brady in a Super Bowl.
I'd take Peyton Manning.
Eli Manning in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, no,
I'm
riding. I'm riding with Peyton Manning because I know how he prepares and how he goes, and just that's the way I feel.
He's Tony Dungy from Football Night in America. Coming up next hour, Madison Bumgarner, the World Series MVP, will join us. LaShawn McCoy, the Eagles running back, will join us. The Eagles, now it's Mark Sanchez's team, as Nick Foles out with a broken collarbone. Is that usually season-ending injury?
I think it would be for a quarterback. Although it's left, so he might be able to come back for the playoffs. But I think it's going to be Sanchez's team, and I would not be surprised to see Mark play really well. Chip Kelly, he knows how to maximize quarterback play and minimize their weaknesses. I think he's going to play well.
Do you think the Jets wish they had Mark Sanchez?
I think they do right now.
Thank you, Coach. Great you came in, as always. And good luck with the Michigan job. I mean, safe travels back home.